Okay, I am back. Forgive me if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse, but this is video recording number 8, technically 9 in just one evening, so I'm a little bit worn out, but I'm pushing through because I want to talk about Transformers Legacy Velocitron Speedia 500 Override. And Override is very cool. This is actually, I always wanted to get Cybertron Override, but never did. Never found her for a reasonable price, and then also like the automorphing thing coupled with the extremely lacking articulation, because it's an older figure, but also the automorph kind of got in the way. It's kind of like, I don't know. But then they announced this, and I was like, yes, and then it was a Walmart exclusive, and it was like, what the heck are you doing? But thankfully I was able to get this through Hasbro Pulse. They sold out of Cosmos before the listing even went live, but they still had Override and Nemesis Prime, and lots of others in stock. So yeah, got Override, and Override is very cool. This is very much, from what I can tell at least, reminiscent of the original Cybertron figure, but a little bit sleeker, a little bit narrower. It's got that similar weird Batmobile with mandibles shape. It is gappy along the sides, but I feel like that's understandable given what it is, what it does. And also I think a lot of what's going on here is in service of the robot mode proportions, so I'm fine with that. It is a little bit unfortunate that you get a lot of pins and screws and stuff visible right in the front, like right on the car hood. I mean, I kind of feel like, you get them on this side too, so there's really no good way they could have put all this together. It's a little bit of a shame. Not a deal breaker or anything like that, and there's probably going to be a repro label set that covers a lot of these up anyway. But this is cool. I like how weird the shape of this car is. So narrow in the back and then flares out so much in the front. And the coloring and paintwork on this is great. And I don't like saying that because this is a Walmart exclusive line, which means it's going to be really hard to find, which makes it all the more frustrating. But you've got lots of really nice bright whites, and then this red paint all over the thing. That's really nice. Calls out a lot of really nice details. Some nice metallic blue in the front section here. The translucent red for the windshield is, in this one instance, I feel actually passable because it's a nice shade and it doesn't really reveal any robot junk. And it's just this piece. It's not like the entire top of the car like we get with a lot of other figures. So they got to do the gold trim around it, which just looks really nice. That light blue in the front, and it just looks so good. And around the sides, also, you've got the red paint details there. And also, I do have to say, I really like the tires. I like these translucent red wheels with the gold rims painted on. It's, I don't know, something about that is just really neat. And I know it's meant to be evocative of the original toy, but I just think that's a really cool design. And also from the front, like, I love how this goes in and then flares back out a little bit at the bottom. There's just so many really cool contours to this vehicle. And along the back, it is a little bit plain, because this is just the weapon. And I do kind of wish that, I mean, there is detail up here, but it would be kind of cool if this was painted in more. There's this nice little peg hole right there where another weapon could feasibly go, so you could give her a different weapon. But nope, it's just this chunk that goes on the back. And if you wanted to, you could push those out to, I don't know, clothesline people as she drives by. Speaking of, I don't know what kind of segue that is, but yeah, this is very visible head poking right out of the top there. I don't mind. I mean, it's from the original toy. That's what this is homaging, and this is just a really cool little car with robot mode arms and legs obviously hanging out underneath. But I do like this. It feels like the paint job on this feels great, and the plastic feels really nice, which is weird to say because I feel like it's always the same plastic, but the plastic on Override for some reason feels really dense and solid and nice. I can't quite explain it. And let's just move on. I will talk about the weapon when we get to robot mode, but for now, we are going to do size comparisons. Let me readjust this a little bit. And here we go. I swear, no matter what I do. As you can see, here she is with a more standard assortment of mainline figures, and vehicle mode, she's actually only slightly bigger than a deluxe. Like very, very slightly. She is basically deluxe size, which might be a bit disappointing to some. For me, I don't really mind it because, as I said, she's got kind of this really nice premium feeling finish. The plastic feels great, the paint job is great, so I kind of feel like the extra money is probably going into just the fit and finish of the figure, which I'm totally okay with. Though I will say, while I'm thinking of it, one thing I kind of wish they had done with the paint deco is I feel like she really could use some gold on the tips of the vehicle mode here. That just seems like, I don't know, like they used the gold here, and for the trim, they could have used it for those, no, they're the feet. They could have used that too. Alright, transformation time. So, to start, we are going to come under here and unplug fists. Just get those out of the way. That will give us the ability to bring this front section down because it actually pegs into the, there you can see the little slots there, pegs into the windscreen thing. So we're going to bring that down, then can split this in the center, and then bring this down, and this will click into place. With that clicked in, we can swing this up, swing this down, and then swing this around, and this will kind of peg in to the to this piece here, and just kind of keep that from being able to go back in, and kind of close up that very obvious leg. And showing it from this side, you can see how this hinges down, and this peg kind of clicks in there. So push that in, push that up, swing this down, bring this in, and then tab that in there, and that locks in, and everything is hunky-dory. And there we've got the legs done already. Very simple, but very well done. Now, the back section, the shoulders, what are obviously the shoulders, tab in together up here, and then these bits also tab in up here, so you kind of want to separate everything out. And then as you swing the shoulders out, you want to rotate them so that they can rotate more freely, because when you have the shoulders up, they kind of clash right up here. So swing that around, and then you can straighten it out again. Bring the arm out just to get out of the way. Swing it down, bring it out. And now we've got all this going on. So now we want to untab these sections from here so we can bring these out, like so. And just kind of swing them down to get them out of the way for now, because we want to take this whole assembly and swing that down and around. And it's on a couple of different hinges, and it will peg into place in this orientation. So now with all of this, I want to bring this down and then bring the windscreen down, and the windscreen will peg into these little tabs, or tab slots down here. So that'll peg in really nice. And now I want to push this armature in and then rotate this up, and you want to peg this into here, but then there's also a tab back here that you want to peg into here. So you kind of want to angle this back. So you angle this back so that it can go in there, and then as you kind of push that in, that gets lined up and gets pushed into place, and that creates the torso. So again, push that in, rotate this around, rotate that first and kind of push that in, and then angle that in, tab it in, and get that lined up and push all that together. There we go. And then rotate the fists around. And there we have Override in her robot mode, and she's really cool. I really like this. And as I said, like, the proportions of the vehicle mode were obviously sacrificed for the proportions of the robot mode, because these proportions are really nice. They're way better than the Cybertron toy that had the enormous upper torso and tiny little legs. And pretty much the only new detail in all of this is the head, the arms, and the waist section. Like, pretty much all the rest of, like, this and these bits and the entire torso is made up of parts that we saw in the vehicle mode. All of this we saw in the vehicle mode. It's very cool. And this is just a very, very nifty robot mode. with some really nice detailing, really nice paint, really nice color breakup. I love that they did a lot of gold detailing on the forearms, like all the way around to both sides, and gold detailing on the shoulders. It looks so good. This is just really neat. Relatively clean aside from this on the back, but that is her weapon, which we'll see more in a little bit. And her head is what you'd expect from Cybertron Override. I think it's molded in white plastic, so like the red and the kind of mustardy yellow gold for the face and like the light blue for the head crest and the blue for the eyes. I think that's all painted. So they did a lot of work on this. And it's very reminiscent of Cybertron Override. For some reason, they gave her red light piping without letting her eyes light pipe at all, which I think is probably more mold limitations than anything, but it's fine. It doesn't really bother me, and that is a really nice looking head. It's a really distinct shape, too, with like the really tall head crest and the bunny ears, and that kind of chin strap. I don't know, I really like it. It stands out. Now, the articulation is very limited on the head. Like, you can kind of nod up and down a little bit. You can't really go side to side, but you can rotate the head, so there's that. The arms can go all the way around. You can't really use that rotation for the transformation as a butterfly joint because it tabs in back here. But the arms can go out 90. You've got bicep rotation, you have 90 degrees of elbow bend, and then wrist swivels, as we saw for the transformation. Despite how it all comes together, you do get a waist rotation, though it is rather limited. And that's not because of the weapon. There's actually a panel back here that the weapon is sitting on. That panel is what's keeping this from being able to rotate. It would have been nice if that panel either didn't go back all the way, because I feel like it didn't need to. If I take this out, you can see there's the peg hole for the weapon. And if this panel didn't go back as far as it did, that wouldn't be a problem, but then those tabs are what's necessary for these to tab together in the car mode, so I guess they needed it for that. I don't know, I just wish that this didn't block the waist rotation as much as it did. But still, you get some waist rotation. And the hips can go forward. If you get the knees out of the way, they can go forward past 90. They can go back only about... yeah, only about that far because of that panel that gets in the way. They can go out a little bit past 90. You get a thigh rotation, and then you get a knee bend that bends. Doesn't go all the way in, but that is still a pretty decently deep knee bend, especially considering how the leg transforms. Then the feet can go up and down a little bit, though this bit keeps the foot from going back all the way. And then you get a little bit of ankle tilt. So the articulation on Override is pretty decent. Definitely at least at par, if not maybe slightly beyond it. Now for the weapon, this just unplugs from her back, a very thick peg. That unplugs, and then you just manually flip these out. It's not spring-loaded like the Cybertron figure. That flips out, and if you want to, you can adjust these fins. What I like to do is have them up at an angle for vehicle mode and then flatten them out for the weapon mode. And then this can go into her hand. If you want to do it like that. You can also, if you wanted to, peg it into her arm, which I think looks cool, but the peg is so long. I don't know why it's that long, but like the peg is so long it sticks out a little bit. But if you're looking at it from this angle, it's fine. So you've got some options with the weapon, and I actually thought ahead this time. I came prepared, have a Cyberplanet key. There is actually, you can see the molding in the weapon for like a Cyberplanet key slot, and the weapon is molded in such a way that it can accept the Cyberplanet key. So this will plug in. I haven't actually tried this yet, but from what I understand, it will plug in. But like, there's no spring-loaded mechanism. This just is a thing you can place it in. And wow, that's, well, it goes in, but it doesn't really hold super well. Go the other way? No. Just because this isn't pinned together all the way? I don't know. But yeah, you can see that's not holding super well, but if you want to, you can do that. This is a neat figure. She's got her let's say, limitations, but this is cool, and I'm glad to finally have her. That said, I think you can see she is a little bit on the short side for a modern Voyager. Like, she's not too terribly short, but she is noticeably shorter than, let's say, a relatively average-sized Voyager. It's like Artfire is not Cyclonus huge, so she's about half a head shorter than Artfire, and roughly half a head taller than a tall deluxe like Rotorstorm. She's a little small for a Voyager, but again, like, she's got so much going on with the paint detailing and all that, I kind of feel like maybe that's where the money went. Also, if I'm being honest, I have no idea how she's supposed to scale with anyone else. I've never watched Cybertron, so I don't really know what her deal is size-wise. Like, canonically size-wise. I know, like, the toy was bigger than this, but you know, I just don't know how her, as a cartoon character, how she's supposed to scale with everyone else. So that may be accurate, I don't know. All I do know is I like Velocitron Speedia 500 Override. She's very cool. I wish I still had my Mastermind Creations Nitro figure to do side-by-side with them, but this is really cool. And as I said, I think they made the right choice by slightly sacrificing the proportions for the vehicle mode for the sake of the robot mode, because the robot mode is very cool. And I really like how the wheel sections kind of push in to slim up the chest a bit. And it all comes together to make a really neat looking robot with some really nice eye-catching detail in the torso with like the cockpit section, that gold and blue. That gold and blue work really well together. They play off each other very nicely. But yeah, this is a cool figure. If you can get one, I'd say go for it, even if you don't care about Override as a character, because I never watched Cybertron, as I said. Just maybe try and avoid paying scalper prices for it. I think she was definitely worth the $30 or 30-ish bucks for a regular Voyager. Don't know about scalper prices. But if you are still looking for an Override, last I checked, as of this recording on Hasbro Pulse, she is still in stock. So if you're in the US and you want to get an Override, and you can't find her at Walmart or don't have the ability to look in Walmart, then check Hasbro Pulse. You may have some luck there. But yeah, that is going to do it for Override. What do you all think of Override, or this horrible debacle that's been the Walmart exclusives for Legacy? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and remember, it's just toys, so it's not that big a deal.